What do I see on the icy plains? The desolate one, it's my terrain. The wind it blows cold, howling my name. I am the king of this waste. How are we going, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. We are doing an Iced Earth retrospective today, and I am joined by Price by from Elabryth Walker. How we doing, man? I always get that pronunciation wrong. You get a word and
It,
you read it, but when you say it out loud, you're
yeah,
like, yeah.
it's a made-up word from junior high school. It's what I wanted to call my first band. I didn't realize until I started playing in bands, you don't get a whole lot of say-so in what you get called unless everybody agrees on it. So,
Well,
but
yeah,
yeah, it's with it.
we've been speaking before recording, and it seems like we've got a lot of in common. And yeah, one of the things we have in common is being in bands before becoming YouTubers. So that's another thing we got to go into. But yeah,
Oh yeah, okay.
I come across your channel. I remember, yeah, it must have been coming up to a year ago now. And yeah, you cover a whole host of different subjects, and yeah, but metal music is the anchor. And I remember
Mhm.
reaching out to you before saying I want to collaborate with you on something, and you were like, "Yeah, sure, hit me up." And then yeah, it was a Ice Earth video that I saw recently where you were showing off a couple of box sets and a few other bits, and it was Ice Earth were on the
Mhm.
never-ending list of retrospectives I wanted to do, and it was like, that's the one.
Yeah,
So I
cool.
reached out to you recently
Yeah.
and was like, I've got it, Ice Earth. Want to do a retrospective? And you
Yes.
straight away, yeah. So yeah, we've been going back and forth for the last couple of weeks, just trying to, I had re-listened to all the albums, and yeah, then we set a time and everything. So here we are. We've been chatting before recording, but yeah, how's it going, man?
And I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I've just finished a bunch of night shifts. I've got a big mug of coffee and a
Yeah.
big pile of CDs to go through. I know you've got some stuff you want
Very
to show
nice.
off as well. So, yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about your channel and then tell us what Ice Earth means to you and yeah,
Sure.
why you
Sure.
think this is a catalog that's worth going doing a deep dive into?
Yeah, without a doubt. My channel is, like you said, is anchored in heavy metal, but I tend to talk about politics, non-metal stuff. I just did a video on the police, and honestly, what inspired me to do the channel is I'm a fan of a kid who lives here in the United States, who lives out in Arizona, named Razorfist, Rageaholic, and I liked his channel, and I I am not charismatic or bombastic as Razor Fist is, but as much as I love heavy metal, there are other things that I'm in have interest in. So I tried to build the channel around my limited personality. That being stated, Iced Earth, the I've met John, I've met Matt, and I was actually very lucky. I actually told this on another podcast, but what happened is I got into Iced Earth on their first album, which is I'm That Old. And what it was, a buddy of mine, he would buy anything that was on Century Media Records. So he bought the cassette for Iced Earth. He didn't like it, handed it to me. And I was like, sounds pretty good, you know? And 6 months later, they released Storm Rider.
Yeah,
And if you're a fan of Iced Earth, you know the difference between their debut album in Storm Rider is like the difference between the first album and the last album by the Beatles. I mean, it's that much of a jump.
yeah,
You know, they had replaced Gene Adams, and their John Greeley was like this technically proficient singer, and the lyrics were dark. And I became a monster fan of them. And then a few years later, I they were actually in Atlanta. There's a convention called Dragon Con, that happens in Atlanta, Georgia, and Iced Earth were there to promote the Dark Saga album. And they had just released Days of Purgatory. And at the time, I worked part time at a comic book shop. So we shot over there as representatives of the comic book shop. Nobody knew who Iced Earth were. They're just sitting at this table. Nobody's coming by and talked to them. And a buddy of mine who went there the day before said, grab your Iced Earth stuff, come and see them. Nobody's talking to them. They'll have time to sign everything. I went, okay. And we ended up spending the day with John and Matt and Randall and just everybody. They were lovely. And then later on that night, they played a little showcase for about 45 minutes where they did songs off Dark Saga and Days of Purgatory and Burnt Offerings. It was, I mean, it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. And John was so nice and so welcoming and really knowledgeable, not just talking about heavy metal in general, but, and obviously we find this out later, but I got like a little preview of how much he knew about American history. And
Uh-huh.
ever since then, I've just been a huge fan of the band and a huge fan of John himself. Like any of us, he makes mistakes when it comes, and I'm not talking about the obvious one that people probably are thinking about. I'm talking about like, you know, how he's handled certain things that have gone on in the band and band politics and stuff. But he himself is just such a lovely individual. And that will actually affect how much you like a band, or at least it does me, is I can like your music. And then if you're, you know, hard to deal with, if I meet you, because I'm not a fan, I just come up and say hi or whatever. But for him to be so welcoming and accommodating, it just turned me into a huge fan. And then everything that he stands for, it turns out, love him or hate him, love me or hate me, that our politics align in a lot of ways. So that made me happy because it's hard to find someone who has these kind of pro-American conservative values. So yeah, and he doesn't consider himself a conservative or Republican. Neither do I. It's just the values of family and loving the United States, loving your country, wanting it to be the best it can be. So I know that was a bit much, but Iced Earth, if everybody has their favorite bands, Iced Earth is definitely in my top 5 favorite bands of all time.
Yeah, exactly that. And like I say, John's been getting an absolute kicking in the last couple of years, and I think
Yep.
he's been unfairly treated by the media. Even now, the guy's been given a
Agreed.
pardon and everything, and even then, that's not enough. So I think this was another good opportunity to sort of cancel out all that noise. And it
Mm-hmm.
looks like he's going to be getting into music again soon. So now's a good time to go back to the beginning and remind ourselves why we're even talking about him. Because
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
he's sitting on a fantastic body of work here. And yeah, we like I say, I don't think he actually did anything wrong. So there's my
No,
channel.
he didn't.
Um,
He didn't do anything
but
wrong. He just went and stood up for his beliefs.
yeah, and if anything, the way he's been treated in the media, and it just goes to show that different people are held to different standards.
Mm-hmm.
But we could probably get into that later on, and it's had enough
Sure.
attention as it is. Let's remember the guy for the music, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. But of course, we're going to go into segues, I'm sure. For me, Iced Earth are the American Iron Maiden, and that's not
Yeah,
a. I don't use that term. I don't even think it's
I think
hyperbolic. I mean, I think
I
that
think he concur with you actually.
yeah, the I think that was his aim. I think Iced Earth came up and rose in the underground when classic heavy metal was at the height of unfashionable, and
Mm-hmm.
they came up with death metal bands. There was Iced Earth and say someone like Cannibal Corpse, but they were on the even
Mm-hmm.
plane in terms of the audience because the audience that were listening to underground extreme metal were the same audience that wanted classic heavy metal in the traditional sense, but we're getting, grunge or nothing wrong with your Panteras of the world and everything, but metal was evolving and the old guard was kind of put to the wayside. And it seems
Yeah.
like Iced Earth took that classic, I want to say formula, but I don't want to say that. That sounds.
Well, that
They took
classic
that.
inspiration from those
They
'80s
took that
bands like
classic route, yeah, but
Judas Priest, Iron
incorporated,
Maiden.
yeah, they incorporated the modern crunch that came with the modern
Yeah.
heaviness. So you can take the classic of Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, but with that technical thrash of Metallica.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if you wanted that classic molding of classic Maiden and classic Metallica, boom, Iced Earth is your band. And
Yeah, completely agree.
yeah, and they take that the storytelling element of the, everything is built upon literature. You've got the Something Wicked saga that's still going on
Mhm.
up until the latest album, and they've got, look, there's box sets, there's memorabilia, there's merchandise. Like he's got that whole thing going on as well. It's expensive to be an Iced Earth fan because there's always something cool
That's
to
fair.
buy. There's books and and
That's
lore,
fair.
and yeah, they're another fun band to get into where you've got a whole collection to go through, but you're going to go on a journey now of some fantastic music, and yeah, it's good to rediscover some underrated gems that the band is sitting on. So
Hmm.
yeah, I've bought albums on and off over the years. I had the one that's in like a thin book that it was like the first four albums, and then you get
Oh
the
yeah,
I had
Dark
that.
Genesis.
Yeah, and then for a while actually, Alive in Athens and Horror Show, they were the two that I had, and then later
I
on
can
it
see it.
was they were like that'll do me for now sort of thing, but then I basically picked this up a year or two ago, and
Yeah, Slave to the Dark.
it was like, yeah, this is pretty much a nice one-stop shop. So I'll be going through
Yeah,
this, and then we'll be going through the second half with the later albums. But yeah, this pretty much collects the golden age of the band, so to speak.
yeah,
And yeah, I guess we'll start at the beginning and work our way through. So grab yourselves a drink, everyone, and yeah, you can listen to this as an introduction, or you can listen to the albums as you go. Once this is on forever. So use it however you like. So yeah, we'll get into the first album, the self-titled. This is the funny thing as well. During these early albums, you've got like three different album covers.
oh yeah,
But
yeah,
that's what I liked about this box set. It is all the classic original album covers. Although you had a different one in America, didn't you? You had a this was
yeah.
the
We
one
had
we got.
the Angel falling out of the sky,
Yeah, that's
which
a
I have
cool.
that CD somewhere.
Yeah, I wonder if I've got it. If they put it on the.
Actually, there's a poster in that one that'll show the original cover.
Let's have. Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah,
Oh, and
that's the
there's
cover we
the newer
got,
one as well. Yeah. So you've
and
got.
that's the 2000. Yeah, that what is that 2003 remaster, I think. But yeah, the Angel cover is what we got. Yeah, fantastic.
Original lineup. Yep.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I met John and got stuff signed, I had this album, and it hadn't, they hadn't done the remasters or whatever. So he actually took the CD from me. He goes, Matt, that's what I was talking about. Like I guess he had talked about the covers or whatever. And he says, yeah, you never see this cover over here in the States. And I was like, well, I, I imported it and I thought just the cover was really cool. And it's, and I'm one of those people like you are, like you said, it's very expensive to be an Iced Earth fan. And I was one of those completionists back in the day. If there was another version of something, I had to have it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll fall for it every time. But
Yeah.
um, so we started off actually with the Enter the Realm demo in
Right. Which is
1989.
on Dark
But
Genesis.
yeah, 1990 we get the first album. I'll just run through the lineup quickly. So we've got Gene Adam on vocals, the only album he sings on. John Schaefer, guitar, songwriting, and he's our main man going through
Mm-hmm.
the whole journey. Randy Shawver on
Yeah.
guitar,
Shaw.
David Bell on bass, and Dave McGill on drums. And grab yourselves a notepad, ladies and gents, because lineup changes. We're gonna we're gonna go through them. But yeah,
Yeah.
what do you think of the first album?
Like I said, when I first heard it, I
Excuse me.
my buddy didn't like it that much. When I first heard it, I thought it was, and even with the remasters, it's very raw, and that more plays to Gene Adams' vocals. He's a good vocalist, but he's a limited vocalist, and he tends to go from these kind of raspy mids to these kind of high piercings, and he definitely, like, current Gene Adam, he sounds like he's been listening to a lot of King Diamond. But earlier Gene Adams, it was very raw. It almost sounds like a one of the best garage bands you'll ever hear. But I really like the album. I really like his instrumentals. He had one on there called Solitude and another one called The
Yeah.
Funeral.
Hmm.
And just his instrumentals really showed off, and I loved his triplet playing. So I knew there was a lot of promise in the music. I was curious, if I think the only thing it was probably just the production. The production's limited. Even John says that. But the music itself, especially Written on the Walls, Curse the Sky, and When the Night Falls, is a hell of a way to end an album. So, yeah, I absolutely love the first album. And what it did is it showed a lot of promise.
Yes. Yeah. This is a statement of intent, and
Yes.
it's everything you want from a debut album. It's a band that's they're not they're not where they're gonna be. It's all
Right.
very. It's a band finding out what it's capable of, and
Very
John
much so.
Schaefer's very ambitious as a songwriter, but it's just a fucking really good album. It's just a really
It
good
is.
heavy metal album. If this was the only album they made, you everyone would be saying how underrated, what an underrated gem it
Well,
would be.
why didn't we
Because
get more
yeah,
classic album? It would be held in that regard.
yeah,
But yeah, but it's like Godfather 3. It's like great movie, and you would consider it the best movie if it wasn't preceded by 1 and 2.
yeah, and
On its own, fantastic.
yeah, and it's got it has a, like I say, a good album, a good debut album at least has a sort of naivety to it, but
Yeah,
with that
agreed.
naivety comes a certain energy. So it's like they're
Mhm.
throwing everything at you on this, but
Yeah,
it's aged brilliantly, and it's, yeah, again, it's a perfect. It's like those first three Iron Maiden albums mixed with like the first two, yeah, first two Metallica albums. It's like the melody of Iron Maiden, but the riffage of Metallica and the raw
yeah,
edge of the early Metallica, and just perfect. Like
yeah.
it's
And Deano Maiden is a good comparison. It's got that raw, almost punk energy, but still being traditional heavy metal.
yeah, I mean, like the Yano era of Maiden is almost like it's a separate band on its own now.
Hmm.
Um, and but all the roots are there, like everything that
Yeah,
it's like the recipe's there. They just haven't perfected the recipe yet. It's their first
right.
attempt at the. But yeah, no, great album, great. It's just a great little album, especially to listen to now, knowing what comes afterwards. It's great to
Oh,
revisit and
yeah.
just go, yeah, this is like,
Yeah, speaking of which, their next album, like I said, I got it 6 months later. In We're going to Storm Rider,
yep. So
and
uh,
holy, like I said, the leap
look at that.
in just singing about. I love that inlay cover, absolutely love it, and that red logo. I believe, that was the Japanese logo that they had and on the Storm Rider release. But one, you get this brilliant concept album, which he had kind of played with on the first album, but you get this completely original story. And then comes in John Greeley, and his technical proficiency as a singer just elevates everything. And when you can go like what he does in uh, take a song like Pure Evil or Desert
Fantastic.
Rain,
Yeah.
and then he can just drop and sing something as beautiful as Reaching the End. I mean, John Greeley, it if he had stayed their vocalist, I still think they walk the same path they're at today. But what I think what happened is when John Greeley came in there, he set the bar for what Iced Earth could be. And I bet you John was really happy with it, John Schaefer, because he had a singer who could execute his vision.
Yeah, exactly that. And I'm just looking for it now because I've just thought to grab it. John Greeley's got a new band. Bear with me one sec.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're a John Greeley fan, check out. This
Yeah,
band.
his vocal styling is a little different, but a solid album. I actually
Oh,
heard
you've
that
heard it,
on
yeah,
yeah, I heard it I heard it a few years ago on Bandcamp. And yeah, just the dude's a beast. And actually you can go on YouTube or a couple other things and you can find things that he has done as a solo artist, just him messing around. And one, he's just an absolutely lovely individual. I've talked to him a couple of times, just texting, well, communicated with him back and forth. He's really great, but he really did, like John Greeley made it, whoever was going to follow him as a singer really had to bring their game.
yeah. Uh, so we've got just go through the lineup again. So John Greeley is the vocalist now on this one. Randy Shover back on guitar, David Bell back on bass, and Richie Sakari on drums. So yeah, just keeping up with with the lineup changes. But yeah, what a massive leap forward as well on this album.
Yeah,
It's like you've got the Ice Earth on that debut album. This is really where Ice Earth arrive. They're fully formed on this
yeah.
one. And yeah, they jumped straight in. They're not, even on the first album, they weren't scared of throwing an epic at you. But I mean, the Traveling Stygian, the closing track, is
Oh
an
my
epic.
gosh.
But
Yeah.
the whole album is a concept album. So yes, right out the gate, second album, we've got this whole original story, like you say. Pure Evil is a classic off the album, but everything on there, it's just again, you're just listening to it and you're just like, this is so fucking good.
Oh,
Like
beginning to end is
they
perfection.
just don't make albums like this anymore. It's got again, it's got
Seriously.
that classic album feel with it, and it's an album that you can just lose yourself in the lyrics and the story. And yeah, it's albums like this that remind you why you fell in love with heavy metal in the first place, and it deserves to be amongst the classic canon of
Yes.
heavy metal albums. And then yeah, and then we are on to the third album, 1995's Burnt Offerings. Now
Hmm.
this is where we are introduced to Matthew Barlow as a
Yes.
vocalist, and pretty much the same lineup as the last two albums. So Randall and Dave are still on guitar and bass. Now we've got Rodney Beasley on drums. So we've got a new drummer and new singer on Burnt Offerings. And
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much carrying on where they left off, really. But again,
Yeah.
everything is expanded, and the main, the climax of the album is the 16-minute epic, Dante's Inferno.
Dante's, yeah.
But
I
there's
will tell
plenty
you
to
as
go
a,
along in the meantime
oh,
before we get to that. But yeah, Burnt Offerings.
yeah, I will tell you as an Ice Earth fan from the get-go. So Storm Rider comes out, we're loving it, and it had followed, at least as a fan who, I only had to wait 6 months from album one to two, but there was like a year. But there was this huge gap between, or huge, about 2 years between Storm Rider and Burnt Offerings. So when Burnt Offerings came out, I will tell you, and I feel completely 180 now, but when it first came out, I was so disappointed I wasn't hearing John Greeley because I had become so, I just absorbed Storm Rider. I listened to it so much. And so when I first heard the album, I was disappointed that it wasn't Greeley, but I really liked the new vocalist. And like you said, you're going, it opens up strong with Burnt Offerings, and you have these moments in there like Creator Failure, which is amazing, last December. But, and on the original album, Dante's Inferno is actually broken up into three parts. And you're listening to it and reading the lyrics and just being mesmerized by how dense, how much effort he was. Oh my God, I'm sorry about that.
What happened?
Uh, my granddaughter sent me a message
Oh,
and
right, that's
it
fine.
came out really loud. Sorry. Um, but yeah, it again, he levels up musically without a shadow of a doubt. He levels up musically, and in the original Dante's Inferno, he named it in like three parts, and some of the names had to do with some of the levels of hell. But what you come to find out, and what I really like about Matthew Barlow is, even though I was initially like, well, this isn't John Greeley, I loved how warm and that's how I can put it. Matthew Barlow has a very warm, organic voice. It doesn't he doesn't have, at least at the time, he didn't have the technical proficiency of John Greeley, but he had this really inviting, lovely, and his voice matched the music so well. It had an earnestness to it, and especially when he's singing things like Creator Failure, or you get into Diary, there's a melancholy to his voice that matches
Yeah.
the lyrics. And so, yeah, I really loved it. Really loved that album.
Yeah. And you go, I've just got my copy of Divine Comedy here, which is what
Yeah.
it's based on. And you got the artwork from Gustave Doré on this edition as well. And that's on
Oh,
the album cover.
yeah. I absolutely love Gustave Doré.
It's any book if I find out that he's done illustrations for it, I try and find an edition with his drawings in. They're just amazing. And
Oh yeah, without a shit. Yeah. I will. I love or hate AI. Um, if I'm, as an old guy, I post stuff on Facebook and stuff, and if I want a piece of art to go with it, I'll tell AI, create me an image of whatever I want, but do it in the style. And my two favorite artists, I was like, either do it in the style of Gustav or do it in the style of John Martin. I love both their art so much.
yeah, well, if you want to pick up the Barnes and Noble version of the Bible as well,
Oh, beautiful. That is a
200
beautiful.
260 Gustave Doré
Wow.
drawings throughout. So
That that's like a family Bible, man.
I'm just trying to find a yeah. So oh, there you go. There's one of
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, yeah, his artwork is so mesmerizing. And of course, and I know they did for the 2001 remixes and remasters, they changed the covers or whatever. And okay, that's fine. But I really did love that Gustav cover. Oh
yeah.
God,
So
Golgotha. That's beautiful.
pick that up, man. So yeah,
Yeah, without a doubt. But
well, anything
I
Barnes
really
and
did
Noble
love
they
that.
always throw in. But yeah, you can't not talk about his art. But yeah,
Yeah, I love it because you have Lucifer in the bottom of it. You have Dante and Virgil and John, where he had the entire cover done red, but he left Virgil and Dante white so they would stand out against it. It's beautiful.
yeah. It's because you're going each level of hell, you're going further and further down, and then when they get to the bottom, hell is actually frozen, and
Yeah,
Satan is there,
and that
frozen in this lake. So he's frozen, and oh yeah, you got like three heads and one's because
yeah.
he throws in all different like Greek mythology and all the rest of it in. So it's all relative. But then
There's that. Oh, I'm sorry.
they have to go up Satan's
Yeah, you
body,
got to.
so it's all inverted. So they've gone
Mhm.
to the bottom, but then in order to get to the top, they have to go. It's funny how it works, and then
Yeah,
yeah, you've got
to get up to Purgatorium, they actually have to climb back up.
yeah,
But Purgatorio, but yeah, it's that idea from the Old Testament, before Jesus comes, that what what hell truly is, because in Judaism they don't believe in a physical hell. It's just absence of the sun. You're absent from the thought. So if you don't have the love of God, if you're absent from God's love, then that means you're absent of his warmth. And so yeah, in if you cast out the New Testament, where you have the lake of hellfire and stuff like that, it's just it gets colder and colder and colder and colder as you get down into hell. And that's just Old Testament, just old school Catholicism
it's
right
just a
there in
great like
Judaism.
imagery as well. That you got the people with their heads all backwards and they just walk around bumping into each other, and it's
Yeah,
yeah,
the idea of, yeah, and I love how every level of hell, and you can see what Alighieri was going through when he calls out specific politicians and specific people of the time who had importance, because he's calling out popes that he believed betrayed the church, and he's calling out bishops who he believed betrayed. So yeah, it's a wonderful telling. And if anything, I hope what happened is that people, like, listened to that album, heard Dante's Inferno, and like, okay, well, I kind of know about Inferno, and I hope they went in and read it for themselves, because it is a demanding read, but it is so worthwhile.
Yeah, it's a rewarding read. Yeah, I read it earlier this year myself, and this year was the first year I actually completed it. I tried it a few years ago, and I wasn't quite ready. But yeah, it's a amazing piece of work, and definitely one of the best pieces of literature. And
Oh, without a shadow. And I also ended up with this version of it too, where they kind of framed it and the artwork on the back and stuff. I don't know where I honestly don't know that from. I know it's a re-release, but yeah, just Burnt Offerings. Like I said, when I first heard it, it wasn't John Greeley, but then, and even John Schaefer says that his problem with the album is he was so angry when he wrote it, because he was going through problems with Century Media. And it's kind of like, I know this is a weird comparison to make, if you don't mind if I stray for a second. It's kind of like Nickelback being on Roadrunner Records. No one wants to admit it, and everybody hates Nickelback apparently, except for the millions of albums that they sell. But Roadrunner signed Nickelback before they went to Universal. So their first handful of albums that everybody knows about are on Roadrunner Records. And so when you think of Roadrunner, you think of Slipknot, and you think of
Typo
King
Negative,
Diamond
yeah.
and Sepultura, stuff like that. But Nickelback was making them their money, and they were using Nickelback money to help their record company and kind of keep it afloat. And Nickelback knew that, and they worked it out, and it's fine. Same thing with Iced Earth. Iced Earth was one of the biggest selling acts for Century Media. And Century Media got, I guess they thought they were bigger than Iced Earth, started using their money to sign bands that they wanted to get, like the Cro-Mags and stuff like that. And it really pissed off John that they weren't getting the money they were supposed to be getting. And they went into all this litigation with Century Media. And that's why there's so much anger in that album. He said, and I think it's just for him, he associates it with such a bad time, but the rest of us don't know that. We just hear this epic, grandiose, intense album.
Yeah, no, and like I say, it's everything's just growing and growing in terms of scope and in terms of songwriting, and we're getting these big epic. And you know what, going into the next album, that I think the next logical step was to just go full on and Justice for All, or even just become like even just a prog band. But they don't.
Yeah.
They take everything and they go as far as they can go with it and go, right, what have we learned so far? And now we're going to go and put it into just straight. So if anything, you can kind of argue that the next album is kind of like the band's Black Album. But
Yeah, I would go with that, because the technicality is actually dialed back in favor of melody and just the song for the purpose of the song, as opposed to showing, look what we can do.
yeah, and we get an epic coming up, but yeah, the average song for the next album is like 3 minutes. It just
Yeah,
blows. But
they end up writing this really just straightforward heavy metal album. No power metal, no crazy technical stuff, just straight up traditional heavy metal.
yeah, so next up we have the Dark Saga,
Dark
based on the
Saga.
Spawn comics by Todd McFarlane. I was a big Spawn fan, like when that
Yeah,
film came out, and I watched Spawn again recently, actually, and it's not aged badly at all. I mean, the CGI is the CGI, but
sure.
CGI had moved forward so quickly when it came in. Like films that, do you remember? I remember. Do you remember Johnny Mnemonic with
Oh,
Keanu Reeves?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was like the latest sort of latest greatest awesome film when it came to the cinema, and then by the time it came out on video, it was already gone. It was already dated.
It's already dated.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
without a
That's
doubt.
how quick it was moving. But the I think Spawn, Blade, like all of these films sort of chipped away at making comic book based films
Mhm.
what they are today. And we had the sort of like golden age of Marvel, but Marvel's gone, gone to slop like everything else.
Right.
Uh,
But you're right.
but coming full circle,
Spawn with
the
yes,
Spawn
Spawn
films,
with Michael Jai White
yeah,
is a fantastic movie, even with its problems. But yeah, Blade, Spawn, even the early X-Men films, these were the first time that Hollywood was kind of doing comic books with a serious tone, with the exception of maybe Batman '89.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
But
what a tremendous album Dark Saga is. And you have that, talking about epic, you have that brilliant trilogy at the end, with A
yeah, you have a
Question of Heaven and
three-part
all that.
trilogy, which I guess you could say is the long song. I said there's no 16-minute song on this one, but the three at
No,
the end kind of make the epic
yeah,
anyway. But
Scarred, Slave to the Dark, and A Question of Heaven are supposed to be like this trilogy.
yeah,
And so if you take that, then yeah, it comes up to like 17 minutes, I think.
yeah.
And it's fantastic.
I think one thing I forgot to mention it during Night of the Storm Rider. So Night of the Storm Rider is obviously a concept album, and
Mhm.
although there's concepts on Burnt Offerings, it's not a concept in itself. But obviously we have the concept on the Dark Saga. It's all based
Yeah,
on the
that,
comic book of Spawn. But it's so that both times they strike the balance of telling a story through an entire album where it doesn't just become the music's just becoming background to the lyrics, so the lyrics can
yeah.
tell you a story. The so they hit that balance nicely, but they also strike another balance where the album works as one sitting, one body of work,
Mhm.
but the songs also work individually. You don't necessarily have to be listening to the album
Oh
as a
yeah.
whole, and that's such a hard balance to achieve all three things at once, like story and songwriting and songs standing on their own individually as well as an whole album. I mean, Operation Mindcrime kind of um, is one that achieves it
There,
nicely. But
yeah, with like Mindcrime, you have songs that can stand alone, but then you have these other kind of like other songs that they kind of weave in and out. But yeah, you're right with like Dark Saga. One of the songs that just kicks your butt is Violate. I
yes,
mean, it is so visceral. And then you have this long, then you have this outro that's just this great riff, and then and then without overlapping or whatever, that song ends, and then you come into this like mid-tempo melodic heavy metal song in The Hunter, and
awesome.
you're
Yeah,
right, they go together and they tell the story, but they're not so linked into one another that you're missing something if you only hear the song in and into itself.
yeah, and the opening track as well, Dark Saga. When you read the first Spawn comic, it opens with him not knowing who he is. It's like he's woken up from a dream, and he's in the city. He's on top of the building, like lightning striking.
Yeah,
When the lightning strikes, you see more of the image, and
yeah,
it's brilliantly. How far did you ever read the Spawn comics?
I did. I probably read the first. I like I said, I was working at a comic shop at the
Oh, you
time.
yes, of course, yeah. Oh, you got
Yeah,
a hell of
and
a lot deeper
so
into
I
it than
was a
I
big
did.
yeah, I was a big Spawn fan. I still have the first 50 some odd issues. And so, yeah, that initial Spawn, where you meet Malbosia and the Clown and Violator, and we have now his name, Caglistriano or something like that.
Yeah,
But anyway, the guy who's getting him through, the guy who we end up finding out is medieval Spawn.
yeah.
And yeah, I love those comics. I especially love that one where he infiltrates the Ku Klux Klan, takes their leader and turns him black. With you, Al uses his powers to turn this white racist black, and then they end up the Klan end up hanging their leaders simply because of the color of the skin. They know it's him. They know it's their buddy that they've been burning all these crosses with, but he's black now, so we got to kill him.
Yeah, sorry,
And
rules are
actually,
rules.
it's so good. It's such a good turnaround, and we actually had to hide the cover. I think that was issue 9. We had to hide the cover. No, that was Angela, but it was somewhere in there. It was in the first 20. We had to hide that cover because it showed Spawn, Al Simmons, a black man, with a noose around his neck hanging from a tree. And even back in 97, 98, they were just like, no, we can't do that. And but yeah, just I love the Spawn comic book, and I like what they did with it. I will tell you this though, on your box set version that you have there, one of the bonus tracks is Hellspawn, the Hellspawn mix #1,
Yes.
which is actually the song The Dark Saga, but it has this beautiful accompaniment keyboard that just kind of rises up and falls down. And I actually like the Hellspawn mix of Dark Saga better than I like the Dark Saga that we ended up with. I
Yeah.
like the keyboard accents in there.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. It's the you have that on us on. Funny enough, this album with Maiden, there's subtle keyboards in the background. It's like if you just turn that up a bit, that'd be
Yeah,
metal bands. They get a little bit funny when it comes to keyboards. They like,
they
oh,
do. They
but
you're not going to turn into the Final Countdown. You're
yeah,
fine. Just, have some
yeah.
faith.
But on this one as well, yeah, we get another new drummer, Mike Prachter
Mark Prater.
and Prager, sorry, and yeah, what they look like a K, sorry, Mark Prater, and yeah, drummers a bit like Spinal Tap, they just combust, and then Ice Earth have to
Yeah,
find another one.
and we'll get
But
into it later, but Mark Prater is actually back working with John right now.
oh right, okay, you got a bit of
Yeah, we'll
insight.
talk about that when we get up there.
Yeah, but there you go, and of course it has the classic.
Yeah.
We've all sung it. I died for you. Once,
Oh
once
my
the
gosh,
once the
yeah.
beers
I
are
mean,
flowing.
yeah, that
Dun, dun,
shows you that
dun,
a
dun, dun,
song
dun,
doesn't have
dun.
to be epic.
And then, right, we are coming now to. I mean, I think all of these albums are classics at the moment, but we're on a golden run now. But we we come basically an album that combines everything so far. We've got he's got it's like they found the balance and
Mm,
keeping things nice and concise on the Dark Saga, but now we're bringing back the bombastic
yeah.
songwriting. And let's go. And we have slightly different lineup changes here. So Matt is still on vocals, still got John, obviously. We've got James McDonough on bass, and we've got like
Yeah, he
guest
comes in
sessions
for a
on.
little while.
Oh, Mike's still as a drummer on this, but he's as a guest session for some reason on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of people on this ones, but yeah, let's get into it. So, Something Wicked This Way Comes in
Oh my God.
1998.
Yeah.
Classic songs
Just
on here, obviously Burning Times, Watching Over Me, brilliant. And then we're introduced to the Something Wicked saga. That's
mhm,
something we could probably, well, not debate over, but I think it is a topic of debate amongst Ice fans.
agreed.
Um, yeah, where do we go with Something Wicked This Way Comes? Oh, and this is where
Well,
we first introduced to the band's mascot.
their mascot, Set Abomine.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Set Abomine comes in and he's got the Egyptian Ankh, and he's very much of, he's very much a character in this album because he is the catalyst for the entire Something Wicked saga. And but before we get to that, like you said, there's some brilliant songs on there. One of the most beautiful songs I think John's ever written is Melancholy, talking
Yes.
about the crucifixion of Christ. And then you got some, like, up to that point, up when we were talking about Dark Saga, Violate was just amazing. But then we get Disciples of the Lie, Stand Alone, which is probably one of it. Stand Alone is John's heart and soul as a song. It is stand against everybody, stand up for what's right, even if you have to stand alone. I think there's a line in there talking about how intelligence is looked on as a weakness when it comes to modern society. And keep in mind, this came out back in 98. Yeah, 98. And he's already singing about what happened during 2020. which is people
Yeah.
who consider themselves defiant, consider themselves, self-assured and I'm strong. And then look how many people bowed down when the government told them to bow down. That song right there addresses it 20 years previous.
Yeah. It's like we were
And
speaking
of
about
course, my
earlier.
own
And
savior.
yeah, it's you know, a musician that has a spine, folks. Who'd have thought? But
Yes. I think, and we were talking about that he's not getting a fair shake right now. And that's why this is a man who refused to bow down. And you know what? And I won't get off on a tangent here, but I will say the people who turned on Iced Earth when everything happened, did you? I want to ask him, did you just listen to the music and never read the lyrics? This
yeah,
man told you exactly who he was. You didn't have to listen to Sons of Liberty. He told you exactly who he was in his music, and you were still shocked.
yeah, and that goes for the Demon and Hunters singer as well. And
Yeah,
even with Stu Block, it's like even the lyrics on the last album he did with him. It's just like, hello,
yeah.
are you telling me you never spoke about politics the whole time you knew
It's
him?
insane.
Yeah,
Yet John has
over a
been
beer
all
in the
about
studio or something like that. It's bullshit.
he has been all about standing up for your beliefs, standing up for your right, standing up against tyranny, standing up against authority. And this is before any of these albums even delved into politics. He told you this in Dark Saga. I mean, the entire premise of Storm Rider is a man who's beaten down and stands up against everybody and ends up paying the price for it. I mean, it's just, yeah, but not to get off on that. Something Wicked is really where Iced Earth finally just say, this is who we are. And actually, your analogy earlier of the American Iron Maiden, again, John, his favorite band, he would not argue with on that. And this album solidified that. This was the United States going, look who we have. This is our epic heavy metal band.
Yeah,
And Something Wicked was a testimony to that.
yeah. Um, like Iron Maiden as well. You've got just as many live albums as you had
Oh yeah,
albums, and we can't go into all of. We can maybe breeze through them towards the end, but you can't not
you
talk
have
about
you
this.
have the one that everybody loves. Yeah, Alive in
Yeah,
Athens. If you don't talk about any other live album by Iced Earth, that is the album though.
yeah, we got to talk about this. So there's now, I, live albums are a funny subject because you see on like music posts on Facebook they go, "What's the greatest live album?" And it's like, well, it doesn't matter what I say because if you're not a fan of that band,
Right.
how good the album is doesn't really come into it. So what I would say though, I mean, it seems like the template that Iced Earth were going for was Live After Death by Iron Maiden, which is a good template to run on. But
Completely agreed.
uh, so this album is the best live album ever. But again, if you're not a fan of the bands, how good can it be? But I think
Right.
if you are a metal band and you are going to be recording a live album, this is what you want to give the fans. And I think a
Yeah.
live album should kind of be like a best of. So it's a good album to go, right. If you're not in the band, you're not that into the band, this is as good a place to start as any. I think
Mhm.
so that ticks that box. But it also gives you like an ultimate package for people that are fans of the band. So it pleases both audiences. Now, this was recorded in Greece, in Athens, or live in Athens, hence the title. They
Yeah.
noticed at this point that they particularly had a real passionate fan base in Greece. So they're like, right, we're
Hmm.
going to finish the tour there and we're going to record an album. They do the venue for 2 nights and do two separate sets, more or less two completely separate sets. So you get 2 discs initially, and then you had the special edition that had 3 discs where you had all of the songs recorded. Um,
Yeah. This and what I liked
that was the edition I used
in
to
that
have.
original
Yeah, when I
pressing
got
when you get
this.
the free disc, they give you, yeah, of course. And I have that box set and you pulled that out. So I was like, well, I'll use the individual disc. But I love this because you get a different piece of artwork for each one of them. And honestly, you end up, like you said, recorded over 2 nights. You get a live experience that's longer than either one of the singular individual concerts, because you're talking about over 3 hours of music, and never gets boring,
No.
never lets up, never has a lull. Matt is great at talking with an audience and incorporating the audience into the show. Yeah,
Yeah, if you're
phenomenal live
lucky
album.
enough, get the DVD of it as well. The
Yeah,
only
the
my
DVD.
only peeve, and I know it's it's like John would watch this now and he's like, there's just no pleasing some people, is there? But I would, me, oh, right, standard edition, right. So this is recorded 2 nights.
Mhm.
Standard edition 2 discs, special edition 3 discs where you get the whole thing. I just would have unscrambled the playlist because I don't know if you've ever looked at the set list of the shows.
Yes.
It's kind of one, 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 one,
Yeah.
one. Yeah. If we were going to give us the full package with the full, all of the songs recorded,
Yeah.
I would have just untangled them and gone, right, here's night one, bomb. Here's night two, bomb. Now, they
Yeah.
might not
I
have been
agree.
able to fit it all on 3 discs, or you would have been halfway through one disc and one would end and one, maybe. I'm thinking maybe one day a box set with here's just the 2 concerts. So the album is the album, we all know it and love it. But here's
Yeah.
the if that can be done, I'm not sure. Because we had a similar thing, it's Thin Lizzy Live and Dangerous.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
actually edited
Love that album.
together over 7 shows. They,
Right.
they basically just recorded. They gave the guy 7 full shows. He listened to it all, edited it
Make it work.
like it was a set list,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was. But there was a box set come out recently where it's like, so here's disc one is the classic album we all know and love, but here's the full 7 shows over 7 discs.
Is that a there's a Live and Dangerous box set with all the shows?
Yeah,
Holy cow. I
yeah.
love Thin Lizzy.
I got
Absolutely love Thin Lizzy.
there's a video for it. You can go watch it afterwards.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. That is beyond cool. Yeah, John's got a weird thing. He
But
makes
yeah,
these weird decisions. One thing we didn't talk about, and don't have to go back into it. This was just my little thing. Is before the release of the Something Wicked album, he did the Days of Purgatory, and in there he had Matt Barlow re-record songs off the first and second album. But then
that's
he
right. Yeah,
also did, yeah, but then he also did re-recordings of the third album that Matt had already sang on, because for John personally, he believed at the time that the Days of Purgatory versions of those burnt offering songs were better than the burnt offering songs. Where I think the opportunity was missed is, if you're releasing a 2 disc set, then just re-record the first album, re-record the second album, add in Winter Nights where it should be, which is
yeah.
right before Traveling Stygian, and now you have Matt singing on all the albums. If Because John's very much like, his whole thing right now is he's concentrating on Sons of Liberty because his gripe about it was programmed drums, and now he has
Yeah.
real drums on there. And that John gets in his own head about, well, I didn't like these particular things. I'm going to take this opportunity to fix those things. You've been in a band. I've been in a bands, and yeah, we will sit there and do the George Lucas thing where we see these problems that nobody else sees but us, and everybody else is, why'd you mess with it? So I wish he would have just fully re-recorded the first 2 albums if he wanted this kind of consistency to the albums. And again, like you said, he just kind of back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with these shows, and it's like, all right, well, why don't you just I don't know, uh have the one show, and then the songs that don't appear on the first set, add them second. But yeah, he's got his own way of seeing the world at the
I
time.
would,
But
yeah. I mean, the sequence of the songs may be affected because we're used to just hearing this album now, so that will kind
right.
of throw you off. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe not release it like that as it like to supersede the release, but just as a like with the late live and dangerous things like here's the
An addendum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just an addition to it, but maybe that will do. But that with that box set as well, where I've listened to that album so many times. When I'm listening to these full shows, all of a sudden, that's the one they used.
that's the
You
one
do
they
recognise
used.
that. Yeah, you do get that. But yeah, overall though, just a classic live album. This is how a live album is done. They strike the balance as well between the longer songs and the stuff like Dark
Oh
Saga.
yeah.
Everything's so if you're going to get a 16-minute epic, it's got a nice palate cleanser afterwards, a nice fast short song, and yeah,
Well,
it's a
John,
marathon set, but it doesn't feel like a marathon at all.
no, it doesn't. And like you said, and John, he's actually talked about this. He is very big on how an album flows. So he had a lot of say so in that because it does flow very well. And each disc wraps up within itself so that it doesn't feel like you're missing anything if
Mm.
you only listen to disc one or disc two. And now, of course, you can stream the whole thing. An interesting thing about that DVD you had mentioned, Alive in Athens,
Yeah, I had
is
it
grab
separately,
this.
but again, this one throws it
Yeah,
all in.
yeah. So, um, Century Media actually released this without John's approval. And so, what you'll notice when you watch the Alive in Athens DVD is the lip sync can be off every now and then because what they essentially did is they took the Alive in Athens CD, the recordings, and they sort of matched them up as close as they possibly could. So you're not actually, whenever you watch the DVD, you're hearing the CD, but the video can be different.
Yeah,
It's very odd, but it's not. It's to me as a kind of a completionist guy, it's a nice thing to have. But I got to be honest, I never watch it. If it's alive in Athens, I'm listening to it on headphones or something.
and that's probably the one exception for me because I do prefer to watch a concert rather than
I
listen.
do too.
So yeah, so if I do have, I prefer to watch live after death rather than listen to it.
You and me both, man.
And
That's
but
funny.
funnily enough, this is the case where actually I do prefer just to listen to the album.
Yeah,
I felt
I
the DVD wasn't quite. It was a nice companion piece to the album rather than like an
exactly
improvement.
because like I'm a big fan of Dream Theater, and they got into that whole putting out an album, putting out a live album, back and forth like
Yeah,
Maiden. And if it's available either or, like if you can get it on Blu-ray or on CD, I always got the video because I would rather watch them play. But
mm.
every now and then, there's going to be that live album that's just completely audio. Like my favorite live album of all time, and I know this can be sacrilege, but my favorite live album that I still listen to off and on all the time is Scorpions Worldwide Live. I
Yeah.
love that album so much. And I know that it is a piecemeal of several shows, but I was a kid when I got into it, and I thought it was just the best thing that I'd ever heard. And it's what got me into the Scorpions.
Yeah, and if it feels
But
like if it feels like one show whilst listening to it, then this job done. It's not meant to
yeah,
be.
job done.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Same
Yeah.
as live,
So
live.
live, and like you said, live albums are tricky, but every now and then you get that classic one. And I would say, as live albums go, Alive in Athens, just as a heavy metal live album, is probably in the top 10 of all the albums.
Yeah,
Live After Death is up there, Worldwide Live. One of my other favorites is Halloween High Live. I mean,
yeah.
just fantastic live shows.
If you that it's the gold standard, and if you are going to do a live
Yeah,
album, that's what you do. So,
without a
yeah, we've got
doubt.
the Days of Purgatory EP as well. Well, it's not an EP, it's compilation. But so yeah, you got re-recordings of the first two albums. You got the Enter the Realm demo thrown in as well.
Yep.
Yeah, odds and sods, but a nice completion piece. If
It's
you're,
nice to have it for the stuff that um like I said, they re-recorded a couple of songs from Enter the Realm. You have the original version of Colors on there, but the one that I really liked was Winter Nights. That's a song that was recorded originally with John Greeley, and they had actually had it since the Gene Adam days, the Winter
yeah,
Nights song. But hearing Matt sing this song that should have been on Storm Rider, and it's like, my God, if he ever does a special edition of Storm Rider, I would love for him to just weave that in. Winter Nights is fantastic. Is
Mm.
the fact that you can only get it on this compilation. Hey, at least you have it. Is a fantastic song. It just, I think John said something about that it repeats a theme that he had already addressed. So you were just, it was more, and you didn't need it. But I was like, well, the song itself is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a yeah, fantastic piece, and yeah, it's a album worth completing the collection with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then another album, another lineup change. This is a favorite of mine though. So in 2001, the band release Horror Show. Um, Basically, John obviously still on guitar, Matt on still on vocals. Kind of Matt's last album for a little while. We'll talk about that.
Yep.
But again, the common theme, every song on this is based on a classic horror film, apart from
Mm.
one. Well, Ghost of Freedom, um,
Ghost of Freedom. Yeah.
but everything
Kind of,
else
kind of
is
giving you an in, kind of a precursor to the Glorious Burden.
yes, yeah. But such a fun album, and yeah, great rhythm section. So we have Steve DiGiorgio on bass and Richard
Oh,
Christie
Steve.
on drums. So you've got Death's uh, rhythm section on this, and I'm a
Rhythm section.
massive,
Yeah. And
massive
doing a
Death fan.
tremendous
So
job.
yeah, and again, it's just a right. Here's a metal album. Every song is based on a horror film. Yeah. You kind of think, yeah, I get your idea, but the reality of that's not really going to work. Well, it does on this one, folks, because this is
Does.
awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
When I
yeah,
when I had
every
read about
song
the concept, I
and
thought it
every
was going
song
to be
just
kind of,
fits perfectly with the
yeah.
whole canon of Ice. Yeah, it's probably one of their heaviest albums as well. Probably one of the most straightforward Ice Earth album as well.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a nice homage to the Purgatory days.
yeah, but if you're Ice Earth and you're just kind of casual, you could pretty much get these two and leave it at that if you wanted to. But
Without a doubt. I forgot you've got the box set right there, so I don't have to get up. Is that just the album, or does it have the interview disc as well?
yep, we got
I think it's just the album.
look at that.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
And
But
then
the special, there was a special
there
edition,
was
and
a
this
I
is
know you
yeah, this was the American pressing. Even if you don't have it, I will tell this to anybody who's casually getting an Iced Earth or whatever. If you want to hear John just go over the history of Iced Earth himself and talk about stuff, there's a great interview disc that is available. You can stream it on YouTube or whatever from the horror show time, and it's really, really good. It's a very interesting, because I mean, he talks about things as casual as riding a motorcycle. I mean, it's a very good interview.
I've seen the disc that you can buy it separately. I didn't realize,
Yeah,
or there's another. It's like a bonus disc on the. It's not
it's
on
a
this
bonus
one.
disc.
It's funny because on this, all of these come with bonus tracks, alternative artwork. So you'd think they would have thrown that one in, but no, I didn't get it on that. But I'll have a look out for it for sure.
Yeah,
I
it's
knew it
interesting.
existed, but
The bonus tracks, most of them come from this little thing right here. This is the Iced Earth Melancholy EP. And so when you see those bonus tracks for like Shooting Star and the live version of I Died for You, what was the other cover he did? Electric Funeral by Sabbath. All those kind of, so you get the Melancholy EP on that box set, but they kind of space it out as bonus tracks.
yeah, yeah. So all the gaps have filled in, so to speak. But
Yeah,
yeah, again, I think this is another fantastic album. And
fantastic album.
kind of marks the end of the golden run for me. For me personally, everything up to this
No, you're
point
right.
is classic, and then after this is kind of you can stay if you want, but if you want to leave, that's fine, sort of thing.
Right.
There's
This is
gold.
where we get in.
There's lots of gold to come, but this to me is like the golden age of the band. Before we finish
Oh,
though,
tribute to the
is
gods. Yeah.
now.
I think, I was going to go ahead,
Go ahead.
sir. Go ahead. I'm
No, no,
sorry.
no. I was just going to say, as far as stopgap releases goes, so a stopgap
Yeah.
release, you either get a B-sides album, a live album, or you get well, now it's becoming the band re-records a classic album, like re-records their
Yeah.
debut or something. That normally divides the room, or you get the cover album, and not a lot of them are good. This one's
I
awesome.
agree. I
This
agree.
is the best covers album. Um, they take classic tracks but just make them iced earth.
Well,
Um,
you can hear the passion in it. There,
yeah,
it's not just going through the motion.
and you can hear how that band would have influenced iced earth. It makes
Mhm.
sense. Each one of these makes sense, even with Highway to Hell, Creatures of the Night. That's from my favorite Kiss album.
That's the highlight.
Yeah, I mean, and they do fantastic versions of Number of the Beast and Hello Bit I Name. I mean, and again, love Maiden, but excuse me, good covers of Maiden are few and far between, and the fact that
Oh
Iced
yeah.
Earth pull off two of them here is great. But God of Thunder, another great Kiss song. Burning for You. I prefer Iced Earth's
I
version of
love Burning for You.
Burning for You
I love
than
Burning for You.
Blue Oyster
Yeah.
Cult. But
I think my only, and this is just me being
awesome.
pedantic.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, great artwork. This is just me being pedantic. But if I had an Ozzy Sabbath has been covered so many times by so many people. When you got a vocalist like Matt Barlow, I think you miss an opportunity not covering either a Dio era or a Tony Martin era Black Sabbath.
yeah,
That's my only grief.
yeah, and they could have like brought to the surface a hidden gem in
Oh yeah,
that catalog as well, because that's another
like
thing on my channel. One of the great underrated body of works was, well, anything after Ozzy with Sabbath. I mean, the Dio albums kind of got a second wave
they have their life, but Tony
when they did
Martin
Heaven and
was
Hell and
completely
things like that.
overlooked.
But I mean, I love Born Again, and I'm a massive Tony Martin fan, and it seemed that
Oh
I was banging the drum for years, and it seems like Tony Iommi finally heard me because they released that box set a few years ago.
yeah,
Where
the Anamundi. And actually on my channel, I did they got here a few days early. So I was on night shift. I get home, it's like 1:30 in the morning. There's my box set. I have the vinyl and the CD. And I did unboxings for those that night and post them. But it was to have Matt Barlow and they do Black Sabbath, and I was like, I can hear Matt singing Nightwing off the
yes,
Headless
yeah.
Cross. I would have loved to have heard that, but it is what it is. You know, like I said, it's just me being a super fan, and it's like you got Matt Barlow, so much Tony Martin. Dio's been done. We've heard the Holy Dio tribute album. Tony Martin, give him some love. You know, do something off one of those albums. You know, but you know, like Matt Barlow singing Valhalla would be awesome. So
Or Jerusalem, that would have been a good one.
Jerusalem, yes, just I mean, the Tony Martin era is so freaking brilliant. You know, I to this day, and I understand, I love the remaster, I love the remix and everything. But even when it originally came out, I liked Forbidden. I liked it a lot.
I
But
think the thing
it is what
problem
it
you
is.
had with Forbidden is that the worst song on it opens it,
Opens it. That's the problem.
and
What? Why do we? Yeah, I completely agree with you. Because Get a
and
Grip. That's an awesome track.
yeah, and what's the one after that? Ding, 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 ding. Cause you thing they get to you, cause you're just so far away. That one. But you know
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
best song on Forbidden isn't even on the album. It's the Japanese bonus track. Winner Takes It
yeah,
All. That is so
yeah.
heavy. Imagine if we just went right, Illusion of Power. We'll just stick that on the second half somewhere. Let's open the album with Winner Takes It All, and then into Get a Grip. Into yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah,
But
we could talk about the mix and the production, and who cares?
it is what it
Um,
is.
but
But like I said, not to go too far in the Sabbath. But yeah, I think it was just a missed opportunity. But then again, I don't know how John or Matt feel about Tony Martin era Black Sabbath. So it is what it is. But even with the Ozzy stuff, Black Sabbath had been done so long, so much, and yeah, it's a great song or whatever, but they had brilliant songs on Volume 4, on
Yeah.
Sabotage. Yeah. So I don't know. But outside of that, a very, and you actually used the word, it is a fun album. It is a
Mm.
fun album to listen to and jam to.
Yeah.
But
So
that actually takes us, like you said, out of the golden era into really kind of iron, what would you call it? Iced Earth Mach 2 if you do the Deep Purple thing.
Mark 4, 5, 6.
Mach 4,
But
it would be, yeah,
yeah.
wouldn't it, with Tim
Um,
Owens?
but right. When are we going to do Demons and Wizards? Do you want to do it in order, or should we just get through all our stuff and then cover Demons and Wizards after?
I am here for the ride, brother. Whatever you want to do.
Right. Well, we're kind of out of order now anyway because this is actually released an album or two ago. But I was around
Yeah,
the live album. John collaborates with I forget the singer's name now. Um,
Hansi Koo.
Hansi Kurt for Blind Guardian,
Hansi
and
Koo. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, what we know now as power metal, which is
Yeah.
basically just a modern interpretation on classic metal. There's the distinction between American power metal and European power metal. But if
Hmm.
you so American obviously is Savatage, Iced Earth, maybe a bit more modern would be like bands like Eternal. Well, okay, you go back as far as Manowar, I guess. But
Yeah,
just that
Manowar
sort of
definitely laid the foundation.
more of a more modern one would have been Nevermore. But then you in the
Yeah.
European, you've got like bands like Halloween and for me,
Halloween to me are the progenitors.
yeah, for me that I never quite got into Halloween myself. For me, Halloween was it was like it's like a cup of coffee with 10 sugars in it. It's just a little bit too sweet
A
for
little bit
me.
too much. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the singer quite like when you listen to the Keeper of the Seven Keys in that, it's kind of like it's like an episode
Michael
of
Kidd.
it's like an episode of He-Man, but you only ever get Prince Adam.
It's funny. That's a great descriptor and exactly why I love them so much.
There you go. Then
When
it's fine. I mean, more power to you if you're a fan of. I mean, when I see at the moment they're doing this thing where they've got all the singers,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
looks like an epic concert, and they've even done an album with it, and it's just like
yeah.
I want to be a fan. I want this looks like I'd love it if Maiden or Anthrax or someone like that did that, something like that. And yeah, I want to be on for the ride, but I'm just like I just can't get into them. I've tried.
No, and that
But
happens. Like, as a matter of fact, speaking of Hansi Kirsch, the first album, I actually found out about them because of talking to John. When I was talking to John back in '97, he had talked about during the reason I recorded that small show is I didn't know Iced Earth were going to blow up and become what they became. So I was like, this is going to be one of the only few times I see them over here because they only play in Europe. And when I was talking to John, I was asking him about touring in Europe, and he brought up Blind Guardian. He said, "Have you ever listened to Blind Guardian?" I was like, "I've never heard of him."
yeah,
And he said, "You should definitely check him out." And we talked about it, and he talked about how much he loved their music and stuff. And so the first album I actually got by Blind Guardian was Nightfall in Middle Earth. And I listened to it and I didn't get it. I got to be honest, didn't get it. And about 6 months later, listened to it again, didn't get it. And then I go out in the field. I'm overseeing this project. This tells you how long ago it was. I had my Sony Discman
oh
in my
yes,
headphones,
yeah, yeah,
pop in the CD, and I'm listening to it. And for some reason, I got
clicks,
it
yeah,
that day. And what you're talking about, it looks good on paper, and everything on paper says I should like this,
yeah,
but I don't because there's an intangible that I can't tell you why I don't like it. I
yeah,
should, but I don't. And that's how it was with Blind Guardian for me. But like I said, I'm a huge Monster Tolkien fan, and I really wanted to like an album that was completely dedicated to the Silmarillion.
yeah,
And but that third listen, man, I was like, totally got it. But the other part of that is to me, that is their ultimate album. Everything that came after that, I found kind of boring. But the two or three preceding albums, um, for Blind Guardian up to Nightfall in Middle Earth, I think are great. But I think Hansi's a really tremendously gifted vocalist, very good bassist. Um, I love that he and John got together on this Demons and Wizards thing, because what comes out of that with Heaven Denies and Tear Down the Wall, and I mean, it's and
And
even
Fiddler
their
on the
cover
Green
of
is the
White Room is great.
yeah. Yeah, this was another one really that I, a bit like yourself, was just saying. It took a couple of attempts, but
Yeah,
when it clicked big time. Rites of
yeah.
Passage is an amazing song. Yeah, it's just I got. I was saying earlier, you got these two sides of, but they come together nicely on this album, and yeah, kind of just gives you a little bit of a flavor, another flavor of Iced Earth as well. It's just like a
It does.
because
It's
well,
it's
John is Iced Earth and Iced Earth is John. Anything John's gonna do is gonna slightly sound like,
right,
but
but John gets to go more fantasy in
yeah,
Demons and Wizards, because that's just it. Whereas Iced Earth, don't get me wrong, they do talk about they did a Spawn album stuff, but a lot of their stuff is structured in internal strife, dealing with the real world. He really gets to play in the fantasy arena, like up there with like Rhapsody and Labyrinth and stuff like that, when he does Demons and Wizards. Because in Heaven Denies, you get to talk about John Milton's Paradise Lost. Fiddler on the Green, about that's the cover of the
yeah,
album, The Two Little Children. Hansi actually saw a traffic accident that took the lives of two little children. That's what inspired that song. But in Blood on My Hands, I'm a monster, and is I have this little placard that says life is short, opera is long, Wagner is forever. And I'm a huge yeah, I am a
yeah,
huge fan of Rings of the Nibelung. And with Blood on My Hands from Demons and Wizards, he actually taps into writing about the ring cycle. He's not doing that in Iced Earth. He gets to do it in Demons and Wizards.
yeah. No, it's a great addition to your Iced Earth collection, and
Yeah,
you got
quintessential power metal.
3 albums in total, but all of them are, are great in different ways, because they sort of come back together every like 10 years or so.
Yeah,
They
yeah. They get together. They
they're
put
very
out these.
different albums, but
Mhm.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
very
on the second album, they went full on Stephen King.
yeah. Oh, what with
Yeah,
the Crimson King, uh, Dark Tower.
yeah. Dark Tower. They went full Stephen King on it. In most of the songs revolve around the Dark Tower series, and
Didn't realize that. Yeah, the Gunslinger, the Terror Train. Yeah, have you read
yeah,
the Dark Tower series?
I have only read the first three books. I know that sounds insane, but I read the first three books. I enjoyed them. I enjoy the first book by itself. I think it is a standalone, amazing piece of literature. And I'm not a big Stephen King fan, but that book is damn near perfection. But I started reading, the additional characters came in, and then the fourth book, I want to say it was called Wizards and Glass or something like that. And I was
Yeah,
just like, I'm not invested enough to actually care what happens. Honestly, everything sort of seemed less to me after the first book. So, yeah, I know about the Dark Tower series, and I read the first three books. And so I had read enough where I could enjoy the album on another level. But even if you're not a fan of even if you've never read those books, the Crimson King album is freaking amazing.
mm, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it just is. There's a train on the cover for a reason, because
yeah,
it is just relentless. It is such a good album.
yeah. The I don't know what to tell you because spoilers and all that good stuff. But let's just say leave it there.
Okay.
It's one or two books. Let's just put it this way. I went for some reason. I made it a mission to read everything Stephen King had done. A completionist and all that.
Right.
Um, I didn't complete the task, but I did. I did get through the golden age, shall we say? Um, I think The Dark Half and Pet Cemetery, the only two I haven't read of his golden period. I've read
Yeah,
some of his later stuff, and
yeah.
Stephen King's Achilles heel is he doesn't know how to end. And Stephen King has admitted that, in all fairness.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I mean, look at
and
it is fantastic until the end.
yeah, and when you get to the end of the Dark Tower, you yeah, you want to go hunt Stephen King down. And
Yeah, that great Family Guy, because Family Guy does those cutaways. They did this cutaway
where
where
he
Stephen
runs,
King is talking to his publisher,
yeah,
and he goes, "It's about a lamp monster," and he goes, "Okay, when can you have the script?" Yeah, that's it. It's just like, dude, yeah, it great idea, really good execution, but always fails in that last percentage.
yeah, and it's like, and then the story ends. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
he
kind of
should
like that.
really write. You write the story, you get to a point, and it's like, all right, that's all I've got. You figure it out. Enjoy. He would still sell the books.
Yeah. The it's a shame because they are good. But anyway, right. So Demons and Wizards, little segue, definitely worth getting. And
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
even like the third one as well, actually.
yeah.
So
I like the third one. And again, just is he get John? I'm not so worried about Hansi, but John, because Hansi plays in the fantasy area. This is almost John getting to step outside of a sandbox and do something that he knows would make no sense on Iced Earth.
yeah, but it still kind of makes sense. So it's
Well,
like
no, yeah,
it's distinction level iced earth is
yeah. There you
is a good
go.
way of.
Kind of like
So
what we were talking about, where you kind of get locked into this is the path that you're on, and if you stray a little bit, are your fans going to come with you?
yeah, but
Oh,
yeah,
there you go, man. The glorious burden.
let's get into it. So now we're in
Yeah,
the new era of iced earth. I
Tim
can't
Owen.
believe that I'm feeling very old. 2004 this came out.
Yeah,
Um oh man. Right. So yeah, obviously 9/11 happened and the world changed and Matt
yeah,
Barlow decided to join the police force. Again,
hmm,
Matt Barlow, another man, stands by what he believes in and
very
doesn't
personable.
just talk a good game. He lives it. And yeah, I think I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and join the police and help out,
Yeah,
which is so then we get Tim Ripper Owens, who was the replacement singer for Rob Halford in Judas Priest. He did a really good underrated album with Beyond Fear around this time as well. But it seemed to make
yeah.
sense. He jumped ship and joined Iced Earth, and yeah, generally it works out well. I mean, seeing DVDs of the band during this time is something's not quite there. And I'm a fan of Ripper Owens and these other projects as
Oh, me
well. But
too.
yeah, but
Well,
the Glorious Burden. Now, I've just said the golden age of Iced Earth is this, but
mhm,
this is a favorite album for many people, and
me too.
I'll hand it over to you for that. It's a basically the theme is the history of America. So we've got Declaration Day, you've got Attila and Waterloo. So it's all different. No, it's not really. It's
Well,
all the songs
again,
are
it's
about
a
historical battles. So this is all in reality. It's all history, but
yeah.
obviously leaning towards America and the Civil War. But
Yeah.
yeah, what's your take on the Glorious Burden?
One, I was really happy to see Tim join Iced Earth, simply because I liked his work with Judas Priest. I love the Jugulator album,
Fantastic.
and
Yeah.
he had also done some work with Yngwie Malmsteen,
Oh, had that already
and
been at this point? I thought that came later. But yeah,
that all happened. Well, to hear Tim talk about it, uh, where he was a hired gun for Yngwie.
yeah,
So he had actually only recorded one album's worth of material, and Yngwie stretched it out into two.
right.
But he knew going in there he was a hired gun. But according to Tim, he thought he was joining a band when it came to Iced Earth. And so, John, who really kind of controls everything, he let Tim write the lyrics and do the vocal melodies for one of the best songs on the album to me, which is Red Bear and Blue Max.
Hmm.
But yeah, Tim,
Mm.
yeah, so good. But John, being a huge historian, being really into that, going back to his days in Indiana with his father, um, this was John pre Sons of Liberty, trying to get that idea across without kind of hitting you over the head with it. He was talking about how positive our history was. He was talking about the positive things. He was trying to put it in a positive light. So, kind of like going to church, you can either preach about hell or you can preach about heaven. And this is John preaching about the positive things about our history. So, he's talking about, obviously, you have that epic at the end about the Civil War, and he kind of tells both sides of it. But then he talks about European history, like you had mentioned with Waterloo, Valley Forge. He gets really visceral with Greenface. I thought the album is this concept album, but based on the concept of history. I love what they did. I think really for me, the only song that I really don't care for is their single for When the Eagle Cries. To me, it kind of came off a little cheesy, but I understand he wanted to address the elephant in the room, which was the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah,
But I think a better addressing of the 9/11 attacks was Declaration Day, which
yeah,
is, we're going to stand up, we're going to fight, this is who we are. But that Gettysburg trilogy with The Devil to Pay, Hold at All Cost, High Watermark, I mean, if you put
that's on the
all
sec.
that together,
Yeah,
yeah,
because that
if
was
you
a
put all
separate
that
EP,
together,
wasn't
that's
it?
like,
But
yeah, it's a second disc. It's like 30 minutes of music. And very sorry. He had put out, let me grab that real quick.
that's fine. I'm coughing and sputtering myself, so
He had put out this set that has the album, the trilogy in 5.1 mix or whatever. But on there is a battlefield tour of Gettysburg, and John talking about, he really doesn't take a side, even though we've seen John with his, Confederate flag bandana and stuff like that. He loves the South for standing up for states' rights, and he loves the South for standing up against tyranny. But he also is well, in which anybody who pays attention to the Civil War, if the South wins the war, we don't have a United States. We are a fractured country. We are not who we are. So John saw the positive and negative of both sides, and he really does a great job of conveying that in the trilogy. And Tim Owens, I love him as a vocalist, and I thought they were going somewhere interesting with his vocals. But yeah, I can see why people love the Glorious Burden so much. If it's in, I would definitely say it's probably in my top 5 favorite of all the Iced Earth albums, without a shadow of a doubt. And there's so much. Honestly, what it told me is Iced Earth. We had Matt for so long. Matt became this identifying element of Iced Earth. But like you said earlier, Iced Earth is John Schaefer. And we
mm,
get that on the Glorious Burden, that
yeah,
we're not going to lose anything switching out members.
yeah. The I think it's a monumental piece of work, and it's kind of like a standout album in the catalog as a whole. I can see why people would say this is their favorite album, but like you say, it's about history, but it's a very American album, and it's just like
It's
I'm
very
British.
American.
If it was, I
Yeah.
mean, and more power to him, and God bless you for it. If he was Brazilian and he did an album that was all about Brazilian
Yeah.
history, I'd be like,
We would think it's awesome, but we wouldn't
awesome,
necessarily
but I'm
identify
not
with it.
Brazilian. Yeah, so
Right.
it's so yeah, that's kind of where I stand with it. I mean, I admire it and like it, but yeah, it's that this is just that little thing. But songs like Attila and Waterloo and like I said, the
Oh,
Gettysburg
yeah.
trilogy is just as monumental as any other trilogy or concept or big epic that he's wrote before.
Mhm.
But and it's a bit of a nice break really to where everything he's done so far is based in literature and fiction. He's just switched now to history. And I like that he's just done it for the one album because it kind of gives that album its flavour, and it's like there's a nice little
Yeah,
oddity in the catalogue. And I guess what he starts off with here, excuse me, is he continues really with Sons of Liberty. But even then, song like "Don't Tread on Me," you know.
yeah.
Oh,
I have
sorry,
really
everyone.
one
Was you
identify with
shocked? It's the yeah, the reckoning. You know, it was all there. It's it was never
Yeah, he's not hiding it.
yeah. And what you see is what you get with John, and yeah, is the way everyone just kind of went. You know, we can't not get into it, but it's just like, look, I remember at a time when President Bush was getting a kick in, and you know, rightfully so or whatever. But Metal Hammer interviewed Avenged Sevenfold, and they asked him, "What do you think of President Bush?" And he said, "We're Republicans. We voted Republican, and we stand by our president." They're not going to
Good on him.
slag off their government to a British publication, are they?
Yeah,
Anyway, Metal Hammer, like even back then, it caused a stir. And the edit, the normally you get like a letter from the editor at the beginning of a magazine,
yeah,
and they said it seems to have caused a bit of a storm, the stir that Avenged Sevenfold said they were pro Bush and thing. However, Metal Hammer are a freedom of speech magazine, and they have just as much right to vote for him as someone else has the right to criticize him.
yeah.
Case settled. That was the end of that. Oh, for those days to come back.
Those were
Why
the
couldn't
days.
someone have
Yeah,
just gone, look, John probably shouldn't have gone to that march. Probably shouldn't have, probably should have gone home when it all kicked off.
sure.
But we agree to disagree in this label, on this booking agent, or this band, or whatever thing, you know. But I'm sure he's not very happy with how things have turned out. So let's support the man and our friend, and what we differ on, we'll set aside for now. And
Yeah.
this isn't going back in this envelope. So, but yeah, why couldn't they just gone? You know, he
We're
had just
used
as
to that idea of agreeing to disagree. We can argue the merits of our sides. I will do my best to see your point. You will do my best to see our point. But the one thing that the left and the right used to have in common is they wanted the best for the country.
yeah,
Now that's no longer the case. I've never seen as much vitriol towards the West in the United States as I have in the last 10 years when it comes to the left. And I don't understand that. Like these people who live here who say how much they hate this place. I don't get that. The people I don't understand King Charles. Well, I guess I do understand because he's been like this since the late 80s. But I don't understand King Charles not addressing Easter, but he addresses Ramadan. Just like you live in the country that fought the Crusades. Are you out of your mind? You know, is it where I don't understand people hating their own country. Why wouldn't you want it to be better? Why that used to be the idea. We're both approaching it in different ways, but we both want what's best for the country. That's no longer the case.
yeah. It's oikophobia, is it? I think that's the word, oikophobia, where it's yeah, it's like a hatred of your own home. Like a teenager kind of goes
Yeah,
through it, and then you grow
yeah.
up later on and realize actually my family aren't too bad after all, and mum's cooking's not so
No,
bad either. You know, you don't really love your mum's cooking until you go home when
you're
you move
right.
out, and then
Yeah.
you know,
What's
I
that? What's
think,
that?
but
Winston Churchill said, "If you're not a liberal when you're younger, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative when you're older, you have
they
no
have no
brain."
brain.
That's a
Yeah,
great. That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
yeah, but like I mean, with that whole the January 6th thing, it's just like even if you take if we just go right, let's go with it then. That was a right wing march that got out of hand, and they were bang out of order, bang to rights. You got us right.
Okay.
Okay, right. At what point, from a security point of view, do we go code red? We have an emergency. To All clear, stand down. Like,
Yeah.
issue resolved. From code red to all clear, 3 hours. You lot were burning the country to the ground for a month.
And I think that's
And it
where
was happening here as
John,
well. It all kicked off here as well.
yeah.
And it's like, if he was involved in that, would he have?
Well,
No,
that's
you'd have
just
been.
it. I think that's where John and the other J6ers kind of thought, well, look how they treated the people who actually burnt down cities. We didn't do anything on that scale, so we're going to be fine. And then it wasn't about justice, it wasn't about temperance, it was about vengeance, it was about retribution. Like, if you would have burnt down a city in the name of the left, you would be fine, but you rioted, quote unquote rioted, in the name of the right, so we have to punish you the way we should be punishing the people who set Detroit and Minnesota and all these other places on fire. Yeah, they probably, and honestly, just a few months before that, where Antifa and BLM had gone into Washington, D.C. itself, set things on fire, caused President Trump to actually go into the bunker. I've actually talked to people on the left, a couple of people that I used to work with. They had no idea that ever happened because it was never talked about on television. They literally get their news from CNN and the Today Show, and it's like, how did you not know about this? This was a violent incursion into our capital city, and it's because they weren't told about it.
Yeah,
So that's how easily that people can be manipulated.
yeah. I mean, he even says on Metal Archives here, he took part in a terrorist group. It's like he got
Yeah,
pardoned for it. He,
it's
yeah,
it's
George, man,
it's
wasn't there some group as well, like some fucking ultra feminist group or something that took a hostage in there, like literally held
yeah,
the place hostage. You don't
yeah,
even hear about it, and yet these rioters were ushered into the building. They walked between the rope, right,
yeah.
the
They were the
velvet
most
rails.
well-behaved rioters you'll ever see.
Yeah, and all you ever see of John is he's pointing at someone and shouting.
And
That's it.
yelling. That's it.
Yeah,
That's all it is. If that makes a riot, then every now and then I have a riot in my truck when I'm in traffic.
yeah. It's fucking ridiculous, but yeah, it
But
is
we'll
what
move
it.
on, because
Yeah,
you and I can get lost in this really easy. So we're talking about, so the interesting thing too about Iced Earth at this time is they had left Century Media. So that was the first album to come out on SPV Steamhammer. So not only was it a change in vocalist, and it was like an overall new chapter. They're with a new label, they got new distribution, they have a new singer, they're going down this new path. And I guess that's when John decides, hey, we're going to do a full-fledged telling of the Something Wicked Set Abominate
yeah.
story.
So
And the first thing that we get of that before we get into the albums is this Lily P. Overture of the Wicked, where they re-record the trilogy at the end of Something Wicked with Tim
yeah.
Owens on vocals. And I dig it. I dig Tim's version of it, without a doubt. I still prefer Matt's, but I think Tim did a great job with the trilogy.
Well, this is where it gets funny, isn't it, with the vocals? So one little thing we missed is Matt actually done the vocals on the
He
Glorious
had done
Burn,
it,
but
and
he left the
yeah,
band. The
and
label
John
weren't
said
going to
he
promote
wasn't
an
into it.
album with a singer that's not on it, so Tim
Yeah,
has to re-record. Although he does, like you say, he does write lyrics on one of them. But Matt Barlow is still backing vocals on this.
I would love, I would love to hear what Matt did with those
So
songs.
you know it's coming. You know it's coming eventually. No Stone. No. How many times have we re-recorded demos? And
Right.
yeah, no stones left unturned with Joan. I reckon we've got an edition, like a special edition, maybe like record store day or something, like a limited edition. Here's the Matt.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or a
that would be nice.
special edition with a second disc, whatever. But yeah, you know it's coming. But yeah, there is
Yeah,
a version of this album with Matt Barlow. But
I
then
would
yeah,
love to hear
so
that.
the Something Wicked trilogy at the end of the Something Wicked This Way Comes album. like you say, re-recorded again with Tim, but then we get the whole thing expanded over the course of 2 albums.
Yes.
And again, this is where it gets, because you've got a concept album in 2 parts, but with 2 singers, but we'll get to that. So Tim
Yeah.
does part one. And yeah, this is an extension of the Something Wicked story. Um,
Lot of intros and interludes in that album.
yeah, it's a big piece of work, and for some reason it's worked before, but yeah, it's a heavy lift, isn't it? It's well over an hour
It
long, and
is.
there's a lot of music on this, and it's a little bit. I mean, I'll just give you my take on both albums. So yeah,
Yeah.
Tim does part one, and then on part two, Matt comes back for one album.
Mhm.
I think he thought that this was going to be like Ice Earth's Bruce Dickinson moment, where Bruce comes back and then it's all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, he only stays for one album. But for me, it's a bit like when Judas Priest did Nostradamus.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of good ideas, but not executed very
Something's
well.
quite not quite, but I.
Yeah.
But with that being said, that's an interesting album to listen to when you're on a long drive. When you're in the
Mhm.
mood for something a bit different and you're not quite sure what you're in the mood for, that's quite nice album to listen to because there's stuff on there you forget.
Yeah.
And with both of these albums, I enjoy them while they're on, but picking out standout tracks, I'm a bit like,
Well,
um,
and I agree with you there. I actually made myself a little 10-song playlist that I keep on my phone that's got like Infiltrate and Assimilate because I think that's a badass song. The Clouding is really good. There are, and like you said, there are good moments on both albums, but unlike Dark Saga or Storm Rider or even the previous album, The Glorious Burden, you don't pop it in to enjoy it. You, like you said, it's almost like I'm taking a trip. You know what I haven't listened to in a while? And you pop in Something Wicked and you listen to it all the way through going, that was interesting. I'll probably listen to it again in another 10 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about the dogs barking, by the way. It sounds like my wife's
Oh,
coming
don't worry
home so
about
they
it.
can hear her.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm really surprised I haven't heard mine yet. I really
Oh,
am. My wife was leaving. You want me to put the dogs out? I went, you know what? Put the dogs out. That'd be a good idea.
yeah. I can hear the door going. Yeah, so they're crying out for mum. Um, but yeah, like I say, it's. Oh, but then the Something Wicked saga carries on in the next couple of albums as well. I was going to say I was probably going to have to do a separate video just covering the Something Wicked because
Yeah. If
it's worth diving into. Don't get me wrong, but I would say this is for Iced Earth, fully fledged. You're in for the long haul. But
yeah,
yeah, if you're a casual listener, if you're watching this and you're just getting into Iced Earth and you're not sure where to start, I'd say like leave this sort of
right. Leave those for the end.
yeah
That is actually the dessert that's going to put you to sleep after a big dinner. Yeah.
yeah
The albums again, a lot of good ideas. They revisit themes that were introduced on other albums, and the actual story itself about cloning and the creation of mankind, kind of bringing in the story of the Anunnaki that's told in the Sumerian culture and stuff, and kind of assimilating it into it. There's a lot of good ideas. It really is very, very ambitious. What I think is that it wasn't planned out very well.
yeah maybe a bit kind of like J.R. Tolkien just chipped away and just
Yeah,
at Lord of the Rings for 10 years on his own, not even telling anyone about it. It was just something he worked on,
right.
and then boom, there's the finished product. Whilst
Here's
George
the
R. R.
finished product.
Martin, he's doing this Westeros mythos as he's going, and now he's kind of like painted himself into this corner, and he's like, I don't even know how
Yeah.
to finish this. Bit like with again with Stephen King with the Dark Tower, he kind of just follows it where he may, and then he kind of like goes, ah, shit, what do I do with it? Maybe John's kind of done that, fell into that trap a little bit.
It,
But even then,
and
he's
it, I
still
think it,
adding to it. I mean, can you imagine when he does finish it? If he does like a Something Wicked, just the set of that'd be a long night. But
oh my God.
but
You're entering again, like I mentioned earlier, you're entering the ring cycle then, it's just
yeah,
like,
I
it's
mean, I
like, hey,
like it. I
turn,
like that you've got.
I do
I
too.
like that we've got it, but yeah, you've got to kind of strap yourself in and go for the long haul if you are going to commit to it.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, so like I say, we're covering like the sort of rocky period in terms of lineups. I mean, I've lost track
yeah,
of who's
he's got
drumming and who's playing bass, and but
no, and the like you said, you have the first album. Well, that's when I will say this. That's when he brought in Brett Smedley on drums. And Brent, what I like about Brent is he was the only one in that current lineup when John did the J6 thing. He was the only one who stayed in Iced Earth, didn't leave, and had John's back.
yeah,
So as a drummer, he's fantastic, but as an individual human being, he is top notch. He had John's back, never turned his back on John, stayed John's friend. So actually, the fact that John's working with Mark Prater, I was expecting to see Brent Smedley come back, and we'll get to that when we get to there. But that's the one thing. Brent came in, and he's a really talented drummer, but a really loyal guy, a really good guy.
yeah, awesome. So yeah, we've made it to the final era of Iced Earth. We're now into the Stu Block era. Um,
Ah,
what year are we in now? We're in no, so yes, Crucible of Man, Something Wicked Part Two was in 2008. Matt Barlow comes back into the band, and yeah, it was kind of funny having this double concept album with two different singers on it. It gets a bit
yeah. I mean,
messy, but
it would be nice to have one or the other. Maybe that would make the listening easier. I don't know.
yeah, but in 2011,
Yeah,
Iceberg come back with a full new lineup. So we've got Brent Spendy, as you say, on drums, Troy Steele on guitar, Freddie Vidal's on bass,
yeah.
and yeah, new vocalist on the block, Stu Block.
Yeah.
Um, who was he in before? He was in Eternal. Let me quickly look it up.
He was into eternity.
Into Eternity, which were
Yeah,
like a
they
technical proggy death metal
it
power, a little bit of everything on that. But yeah,
everything right there. I actually saw them live into eternity, and I'd gone to see God. Who did I see? I think it was Nevermore, and I didn't know who the opening act were. Saw Into Eternity, and my God, live they are unrelenting. I mean, they all that crazy stuff you hear in their music, they execute it live, and end up talking to the guys while when they came off stage before Nevermore came on. I just went to the booth to go see about do you have a CD or something, and end up buying a couple of albums. Into Eternity are really really intense. And when I heard they got Stu Block as a vocalist, I was like, okay, well, I know he's doing death metal growls, and I know he's got high piercing vocals, but on those albums, I never heard any really good mid range. But apparently, he really worked on that to be an Iced Earth.
yeah. I mean, and not he's well regarded as a vocalist, and I remember Jeff Walters from Annihilator. He was
Yeah.
basically it's like I'm giving up finding a vocalist, and I'm just going to do the vocals from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Unless someone like Stu Block becomes available, and
And then
yeah,
boom.
that happens. So, but yeah, it feels like this is a nice sort of refreshing palette cleanser of an album. It's like we've had
Without a
these big
doubt.
we've had these big concepts, but this is a new lineup, new era, and it feels like the band's it just marks a new era. It's got a new we're talking about dystopia now, so it's new modern sort of sci-fi themes. You've got Dark City, Equilibrium. I mean, dystopian futures are another thing that I've I think if you're on our wavelength, you're going to
Oh,
read
yeah.
1984, Brave New World, etc. And Tragedy and Triumph, another big thick
Great
book.
one. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it feels like it's an Ice Earth album where it's like, right, you know what we're capable of, you know what we're doing. This is Ice Earth, just being Ice Earth on this one.
Yeah.
It's
He pulled it. Yeah. He kind of came back. He did this really ambitious, though bloated concept, and it kind of has this kind of world of its own. And when things didn't work out with Matt, Matt was like, "No, I'm not into touring or anything like that." He went, "Okay, well, I'm sure John was disappointed." But instead of going with, you know, Tim Owens is a particular charismatic vocalist, he basically got a guy and said, "Okay, you're a really talented vocalist. When it comes to your mids, I kind of want you to sound like Matt Barlow. When people come and see us live, I want them to hear you, but I also want them to, hear Matt."
Yeah,
And
you do hear that on the live albums as well. It's like he is
yeah,
trying to
without a
channel.
doubt. And so, and I totally get that. There's vocalist Todd Latore when he came into Queensryche. I'm not a big fan of that version of Queensryche, but he can do the Jeff Tate thing, but then he can sound like himself. And I will say that Stu Block does do that. He can do all the Matt Barlow stuff. He can do all the Tim Owen stuff, but then he does have his own voice. And you definitely hear his own voice in a song like Anthem or Anguish of Youth, and like the aforementioned Tragedy and Triumph. I mean, he does have a distinctive voice, and he is a really gifted vocalist. And yeah, it came back to, now we're getting back to hard rock, heavy metal, iced earth, straightforward. We're not going to inundate you with all these kind of sound effects, and here's our concept. And yeah, it went back to the horror show Something Wicked type thing, which is, here's a straightforward album, hope you dig it.
Yeah, yeah, and it was exactly what was needed at the time, and it was kind of like a
Yeah,
relaunch of Iced Earth. It was like,
that's a good way to put it too. Reintroducing Iced Earth.
and and then we get Plagues of Babylon, and for
Yeah,
for me, this is kind
where
of, we go back to where we were. It's like it's one of those albums I enjoy while it's on, but it kind of goes in one ear
well,
and
it's
out the
funny you
other.
say that, because the first six songs are an addendum to the Something Wicked double album.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so, and don't get me wrong, I mean, they stand up on their own. Demon Side, Democide, the Culling, which I really like the Culling, but honestly, that album kicks in for me when you get to If I Could See You and Peacemaker and Parasite, where you have these songs that have nothing to do with the Something Wicked concept. That's where the album, I think, is its strongest. And especially that Highwayman cover, where he brings
yeah,
in Mike from Volbeat and he brings in Russell from Symphony X. What a fantastic cover.
yeah, yeah. No, it's.
And
I mean, Iced Earth on a bad day, it's still Iced Earth. But yeah, just for me, this one I was just a bit like,
yeah, the way I put it is kind of like pizza. When it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's still okay.
yeah, it's
Um, but he does a Sons of Liberty cover on there.
yes, right.
They
Sons of Liberty, I didn't know about until John was recently doing interviews. Now that everything had blown over, and he was telling his side of the story. I didn't even realize Sons of Liberty were a thing. I knew of
Oh, okay.
Demons of Wizard. So, and then I looked for those albums, couldn't find them anywhere, or if I could find them, they were really expensive or
Expensive, yeah.
expensive shipping or whatever. So, I just, oh well, that's that. So now he's doing these reissues of the album, and apparently the albums were recorded with a drum machine. Now he's got live
Yeah.
drums. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the original pressing.
yeah, I've
And
pre-ordered this box set thing that he's got coming out with them. So
yeah.
yeah, we can quickly talk about Sons of Liberty quickly before going into the final album.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Sons of Liberty, when it was originally released, it was only released digitally. So I actually bought, you could go to John's, and the original Sons of Liberty website, by the way, is bananas. All right, so you could go to the website and you could download the album in kind of a 128 kilobyte per second and have the album, have what it is, or you could buy a higher resolution version of it. So I bought the high res version of it and downloaded it. Absolutely loved it. But at the website itself, John is completely unfiltered. He has links to movies, about the banking system, the Zeitgeist film, Zeitgeist
Yeah,
Addendum, all that stuff is there. And like I was talking about earlier with the glorious burden, whereas you go to church and they're preaching heaven, this is going to church and they're preaching hell. This is John saying, I love the United States. I love what we could be as a country, but here is all the darkness and evil that's happening. And John puts all the documentaries and everything that backs up everything he's saying about, Jekyll Island and everything in there, talking about the banking system, the creation of the Federal Reserve, the stripping of our rights and things like that. And it is really just John unfiltered. And then after I downloaded the high res version, I want to say it was probably about 6 months later, it had gained so much traction and he had caught so much flack for it that instead of backing down, because he's John Schaefer, he puts out this CD. There were two versions of it. This is the standard version. There was one that came in like a little leather book with some artwork. And I bought it because I'll buy anything with Iced Earth or John Schaefer simply because I want to support John. I want to support anything that we're going to get music from him and it's going to be awesome. But talking about the new one, I I guess you could probably go to YouTube if you don't own the album. But the difference between the original pressing with the drum programming and Mark Prater, who played on Dark Saga, he's actually come back and done the drums for the new Sons of Liberty stuff, Thought
Yeah.
Crimes Volume 1 and 2. It is night and day. It is amazing. It sounds so much richer and so much warmer. It really does sound like a solid, really good release. My only thing is John is a good vocalist, but not a great vocalist. And if he ever decides that he doesn't resurrect Ice Earth, but goes with Sons of Liberty, I mean, it's like Yngwie Malmsteen. Yngwie Malmsteen can sing, but he works better when he has an actual singer.
Same with Jeff
John's the same
Waters
way.
and Annihilator. Yeah.
Yeah, same with Jeff. Jeff's a good vocalist, but like when Corbin Farr sang for him or Dave, who sang on the last few albums before he went, I'll just handle it myself. He works better with a talented vocalist.
Yeah. The Annihilator is another one that's on the list of bands to
I
do it.
love Annihilator. Yeah, one of my favorites.
All right. Well, further down the road, then we can maybe cover that if you
Yeah,
want to come back on. If I haven't bored you,
I would. I I I was actually just looking at this, going, he's never going to invite me on because I just drag on about these albums. But
Nice.
but yeah, Annihilator, yeah, another fantastic band, and another the guy where Jeff is Annihilator, Annihilator is Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's not again. He's not. He's a competent vocalist, but he's not a singer.
He's not a singer.
He's a guitarist, and I think that is to his detriment actually, because he does tend to do everything, and yeah, he basically does everything except drums. And
Yeah.
I do think he is better if he just lets people do their job
Mhm.
and let him
Yeah,
be
he
a
used to
shredder.
work
Because
on the early Annihilator albums. He had a partner in crime with the bassist. He had a great bassist that he worked with, and whatever falling out happened between them, it definitely affected the music because even though it's Jeff doing everything, the bassist, you could definitely tell when he wasn't there anymore.
yeah, yeah. Well, we'll get into that. We'll do an eye
Yeah, we'll
later.
get into that. Yeah, that's
But,
something else.
Right, folks, we've made it to the final stretch. So yeah, as of today in
Incorruptible.
yeah, April 2026. This is the last Iced Earth album, but I've got a feeling it's not going to be. But yeah, we can hope. So this album's nearly 10 years old already.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2017. We get Incorruptible, and for me, this yeah, I mean, look, it's Stu Block. We can call this the Stu Block trilogy. I think it rounds off the trilogy quite nicely. Like I say, this one
Yeah.
is a bit of a heavy lift, but this one
Yeah,
goes
it is
back
definitely
to where we were,
definitely
really.
the strongest.
Yeah.
Definitely the strongest of them.
And it's a shame things did happen the way it did, because it really feels like Stu is settled into his role on this one.
Agreed.
Yeah. But again, Great Heathen Armies, yeah, good song. Black Flag, fantastic. Raven Wing. Yeah, Seven Headed Hawk. I mean, yeah, this is
Yeah, that was their lead single. They were like, I love the fact that he was like, the first song is going to be Seven Headed Horse. Like, you want to go that way? I was like, let's go that way.
Yeah, but yeah, it feels like yeah, everyone's happy in their role, and it just feels again that this is Iced Earth just being Iced Earth.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with you there. They found their feet. They found how they were going to move forward.
yeah,
Um, that seems like the first real where Stu and John, not only Stu and John, but Brent has been playing on the albums. They got Luke Appleton as a guitarist, and it really seemed like that was their real first album. Like we were talking about with the debut album versus Night of the Storm Rider, it
yeah,
was almost like the first two albums were the debut album, but this album is like, this is where Iced Earth is going to move on. And there's so much promise there of what they could have been if it hadn't been for what everything that happened that followed.
yeah, yeah. And if this does end up being the last Iced Earth album, it's a pretty good way to go out. Really, I love that
It
album
is a
cover as
hell of an
well.
album.
And no, it's
Yeah.
yeah, like sorry, Incorruptible. Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Just fantastic. I have
the true
I think I
spirit
showed that.
of Iced Earth is Incorruptible, and it did go for a cleansing fire recently,
Yeah.
but the essence is
It was
still very
almost
much
prophetic.
yeah. but but no, I really enjoy this album, and I think it's like I say, that last little bit of the catalogue is basically right. We've come this far. We know what
Yeah.
works. We know what doesn't. Now let's just bang our
And
heads and just play some heavy metal. So this is a good
when it comes, yeah,
free
when it
album.
comes to Ice Earth albums, you could put like if you have favorite albums like Storm Rider, Something Wicked, and talking about Glorious Burden, Incorruptible, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the strongest Ice Earth albums. Period.
Yeah, and you've got a live album from this era as well, from the Bang
Yeah,
Your
to
Head
bang your
Festival.
head.
Band
Yeah,
sound great on this. It's a
they do.
great set list as well. So
And
yeah,
Stu is really good live. Stu is a great live vocalist.
yeah. So he's got 3 albums and a live album. So he's got a pretty good uh, run with the band. And that's our stuff, folks.
That's
So
Ice Earth.
yeah, looking to the future. I hope John does decide to. I think we're going to get new music from John one way or another. Where it's going to be Iced Earth or not is remains to be seen.
He
But
he said in the last couple of interviews, there's a great 3 hour interview with him. I don't know if you got a chance to hear it yet.
I've seen two.
But
I saw one where it's like him and another guy on chairs sitting opposite each other, where he pretty much goes
yeah,
everything. And then I've seen him on podcasts of the Wicked. They're the only two.
yeah, he has two newer interviews where he's talking. I guess is that revolves around the Sons of Liberty Thought Crimes release, but he had done like a 3 hour podcast and it was fantastic. It was such a great podcast and he just delved in everything. But the one thing that he said is he's already been offered money to just throw a band together, go out on tour. And he says, I don't want to put out new music. I want to put out great music. So there is that. And John even talks about him as a vocalist versus as a songwriter. He said the last time he actually picked up a guitar to write music was the Winter Nights EP, the Christmas EP he did with Matt Barlow. And he says he has ideas, but he's not going to force anything, but he does have ideas. And he said what really has gotten him going is working on doing the actual drums for Sons of Liberty, working on the Sons of Liberty. And when you see these interviews, and I'm not a psychologist by any stretch of the imagination, but look at the first interview he does after he's pardoned that he does with the pastor.
Yeah.
You have this long interview. He's talking about his faith and everything. And I had done a not so friendly breakdown of that. It wasn't bad, but I was very critical of it. But then look at John now. John almost seems defeated, which the shit that he went through, I totally get.
Yeah.
But he almost seems defeated, almost seems like almost broken when he's talking in that interview, even though He's found God. He's found his faith. He's getting his strength back. But you look at John in these last couple interviews, and you're seeing the fire of John Schaefer, the old fire that I think he's getting his will back. I think he's waking up. I think we're going to get a new, wiser, more focused John Schaefer.
Yeah, awesome. That's a good way to end it. So, yeah, listen, man, it's been great meeting you, and
You as well.
I've really enjoyed doing this, and you're more than welcome back on the channel anytime. Yeah, so just let's finish off then. I'm into iced earth. Where do I start? I'll hand it over to you.
If I was going to start with anything, I know you had brought up horror show, you had brought up Alive in Athens. The first thing that I would go to would be Days of Purgatory and Dark Saga, because you're going to
Okay,
get,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
because you're going to get everything there. You're going to get a taste of everything. You're going to get the genesis of Iced Earth, and that will inform everything that comes afterwards. That is like when we were talking about the certain albums that aren't as good as others, but you realize if this album stood on its own and it was the only album, you would consider it a great album. So yeah, I would definitely start off with that. But the one thing is, John and Iced Earth, they never mince words. They never, when he talks about standing on your own, the one thing I love about heavy metal, whether it's Iced Earth or Manowar or whatever, the one thing about this music is it's about believing in yourself, standing up for your own principles, standing up to those who want to put you down, and to actually, and this is celebrated in Iced Earth, is to actually look out for others who aren't as strong as you. You get that all throughout his catalog. It is about being a good human being. Iced Earth is a celebration of not only that idea, but the man behind it is also a man who stands up for those principles. So yeah, definitely start off with Days of Purgatory and Dark Saga, because when you go into something wicked, you would have to be insane for that album not to tattoo itself onto your brain. I mean, it's so freaking good. But anyway, I really appreciate the invitation. Thank you for having me on Nightmare Cabin.
awesome, man. Yeah, and for me, I think there is no wrong answer from iced earth up into horror show. You can pick any of those.
Yeah.
I could cheat and say just dive in with Alive in Athens, um, and then maybe horror show, and yeah, and then you've got that whole classic period. I would then say skip to the end and get the Stu Block era, and then the little bit in the middle, do that to fill the gap as and when
Yeah.
you go,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it all falls into place from there. And yeah, maybe get the first Demon Wizards album as well. So
And to top off what you said about Alive in Athens, neither one of us said this, but I think you would agree. Iced Earth are a band that sound as good, if not better, live than they do in the studio. You get that energy and that excitement off the Alive in Athens. So I'd go with you there. Like if you heard nothing but Alive in Athens, they are a consummate live band.
yeah, and I think that's another thing that when a live album is one of the essential releases in your catalog, that you just don't get that anymore, do you? You just don't get live
Yeah, you
albums.
don't.
But that's yeah, the studio is one thing, but the live show is completely different, a different entity. But yeah, capturing that lineup in that time is just a piece of history. So yeah, that's Ice Earth, folks. Take this
Yeah.
out,
Hey, brother.
use it as an intro, use it as an
Yeah.
afterthought. Listen to it as we go along, and let us guide you however you want to play it. Thanks for watching. I know this has been a long one, and Pierce, man, fantastic meeting you. Thanks for coming on.
Good meeting you, man. See you in
And
the future.
link to his channel is in the description. And
Thank
I
you.
shall see you on the next one, folks.
Later.